listening to The Gender Rebels.
I'm Kathleen, a cis woman and ally.
And I'm Faith, a trans woman.
Gender Rebels is a question and answer podcast that explores life outside the gender binary.
A big thanks to our Patreon supporters.
If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/genderrebels. Hey everyone, I'm Kat.
And I am Faith.
Let's start with patrons to thank.
We have so many good people. Shona L.
Shona, thank you. Dennis, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Halvar S.
Thank you, Halvar.
Kali F.
Kali, you're awesome.
Or Callie, you could be Callie.
Could be.
Either way, thank you. You're awesome.
Yeah.
And that's everyone. And I just want to give a good quick shout out to one of our good friends and patrons who just had her GRS.
Oh my gosh.
And
friend patron. Yeah.
A couple days ago, and she is recovering nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a little... she texted me and said the little machine that works your calves.
The leg squeezy
leg squeezy machine, so you don't get blood clots. She said it was very nice as well.
It's an enjoyable part.
She was like, I agree. That is very nice. And I'm like, it is. I wish they would have that and you could like turn it up to 11 because it feels nice.
So for those of you who still have your FFS or GRS in the future and y'all are going to have a miserable recovery time, there's a little bright spot.
You get a nice little machine
for you to anticipate.
Little leg machine is nice.
It puffs up and then it goes.
Yeah, it just fills up these little air balloons, and then it goes, and then it deflates them, so your muscles kind of get a little massage.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah.
Nice. Sounds nice.
It does.
I'm going to try them out the next time you have surgery.
Okay.
Strap them on myself.
Next time I have surgery, it's just a day. It's just an inpatient, so I think outpatient. I mean,
damn it.
So I think I just get sent home.
So I have to go get FFS if I want to have my own leg squeezies?
You don't need FFS. You've already F'd your ass in the womb.
My F is pretty F.
Yeah.
But what if I wanted to F it even F'er?
You could. I guess you could. You know.
I'll need some S if I want to do
your
that.
Your profile is already pretty flat, and you don't really have a brow ridge, and you know, I think you're fine.
Okay.
So
What? You opened your mouth.
No, I was going to say, yeah, because my FFS doctor, Bella Evanessian at Mount Sinai.
Awesome.
She was great. She is great. But yeah, she kept saying to me, she's like, your nose is already pretty feminine. Your eyes are pretty feminine. Your chin's pretty feminine. Your mouth's pretty feminine. And I'm like, no, it's not. So,
babe, look, I don't want
to... It is now. She did a great job on my nose.
Oh, yeah, you look fantastico. Yeah. It's straighter than a ruler.
Mm-hmm.
Rulers should use
points
your
up.
nose.
It goes up. It points up a little bit. It's got a very nice shape.
Turned up. It's so cute. Your brow ridge is gone.
Your
bruising is gone.
It's almost entirely gone.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, almost entirely, so it's nice.
So the rest of your recovery is invisible stuff, like getting sensation back.
Yeah, I'm getting a little more sensation back in my chin and lower lip. The past few days, I've had some wonderful little stabby pains, which, hey, that means sensation's coming back.
Sensation.
So,
and just for reference, for people listening to this in the future and all, we're talking about a day 2 months after your surgery?
Six weeks, I think. Almost 7 weeks.
All right.
Maybe 7 weeks.
This is week 7 of recovery.
Maybe week 8. I don't know. I lost count after a while. But yeah.
Where you look beautiful. Everything looks fine, but our dog bopped your nose accidentally.
She did just a few minutes ago. And that still hurt like heck.
And you didn't scream because that would have made it worse.
And I have not been wearing glasses and stuff, but
Oh, you can't wear glasses.
I can. She said you can. Not for a long time. Like, I'm going to go do archery again on tomorrow. And I'm gonna have to wear glasses for that so I can see with depth perception.
Faith is an archer now.
I am. We were watching Game of Thrones, and I love Ygritte so much that I was like, I need to be in it. Because Rose Leslie, the actress who plays Ygritte, was like, she liked archery so much that she kept doing it after the show.
Fun.
And so I was like, I should try that. And I did, and I had a blast. I was not the only girl there. So it was nice.
Weren't your instructors both female?
No, I had one female instructor, one male instructor.
Yeah, but the guy was like helping out or something, right?
The main instructor was a girl, so.
Nice.
Yep.
So. We are recording because something happened.
Yes, something did.
Do you want to tell us what happened?
I got triggered.
triggered.
I did.
What's
I
this
got triggered.
SJW snowflake bullshit?
I know, right?
Were you out of your safe space?
I was.
Or are you gonna... Should I call you a wambulance?
We should get this out of the way first. I was triggered. But the idea of, like, this whole idea of, like, triggering and safe spaces and all this stuff is PC. It's all based on straw men.
Yeah.
And people who make fun of it don't understand it. And
I think they do understand it. They just don't like being called on being shitty people.
I think that's a huge part of it, but
it used to be okay to be shitty.
It used to be, no, but I think some of them think that in college, you can just be like, I don't feel comfortable reading this, you don't have to read anything. And it's like, you still have to read it. Mm-hmm. You just get a trigger warning that it may contain sensitive topics.
Yeah.
And so the thing I had this week, I would have loved to have gotten that trigger warning.
If there had been a heads up, and we'll tell you about what it is in a second, but if there had been, would you have steeled yourself or would you walked out? Or?
I would have tried to have a conversation first.
Okay. So it would have been nice to know a day in advance instead of 2 minutes in advance.
Yeah, or not in advance, which is what ended up happening. So let's cut to the chase.
Tell
Enough
us
mystery. So I work in New York State. New York State employees are required to go through EEO training, and it's equal employment opportunity.
So that is a good thing.
It is a great thing. It's a fantastic thing. It is all about harassment. It is all about sexual harassment, discrimination, things like that. This training is to teach proper behavior, what's not proper behavior, what's acceptable or not acceptable in the workplace, and part of that.
And it exists to educate the privileged people, right?
It exists to educate everyone.
The people who are harassed or discriminated against know exactly what it looks like.
It is unlikely that you're going to fit every single protected category. For those of you who don't know, there are what are called protected categories. And that's usually vulnerable populations of some sort or another.
People who've historically had to deal with more bullshit than other people.
In general, yeah. So you can't discriminate based on race. That includes if a black employer discriminates against a white person based on race. That's still covered. If an Asian person discriminates against a Hispanic person, that is covered. So it's not necessarily the colonizers versus the colonized, so to speak.
It usually is.
It is just you can't use race. Yeah. You can't use...
And this is hiring decisions or...
hiring decisions or anything, really. You can't treat anyone differently because of that. And so there's some other things, veteran status.
Has that ever... Okay.
I guess it's think so, because...
To leave for your National Guard.
That's basically why it's there.
Now you're fired if you're not here to cover Mother's Day. Well, then I have been discriminated against.
Exactly.
Okay. Continue.
There's a few other categories. Genetic status, age above the age of 40.
What's genetic status?
It's like Gattaca, right?
Oh. Okay.
So if you have if for some they put the laws in place, I think, to prevent a Gattaca type situation. If you haven't seen the movie Gattaca, it's fantastic. Go rent it. Go
Link
watch
down
it.
Below.
Pause this. Watch it. Come back.
Finish listening.
It's a very good movie. But there's a few categories. Marital status. I think pregnancy is one.
Yeah.
Sex.
Sexual orientation? Or gender?
Well, there's actually, in New York City, we have 3 levels.
Oh.
So we have federal, which includes the ones I've been mentioning. We have New York State, which adds a few more. And we'll link down below to, especially the federal protected categories. New York State adds a few more protected categories. Immigration status, for instance. New York State protects against gender identity discrimination, LGBTQ discrimination. New York City, where we live, adds yet another layer. New York City has like carrier status, which is like HIV status, and maybe a couple others. So there's multiple layers, and again, there's like in each of these layers. The federal has like 10, New York State has like 20, New York City has like 25.
Gosh, I like living here, but damn, the taxes are really high.
I know, right?
But I really like living here. Anyway.
So that's the EO training's great, and it's great that we have these protections, and it's great that workplaces want to make people aware of these. It's fantastic.
I like that it's a proactive thing. There is training about this. We're not just reacting to someone giving Leon a hard time because he just got his green card or whatever people are going to be.
Yeah, religion's another federally protected one.
Yeah.
So what this training consisted of was they brought in a vendor to do this. And what they did was the training consisted of these little videos, with your dinner theater people, your dinner theater actors from the local improv team or whatever, doing these like workplace situations. And the funniest thing was they couldn't even get like an office to film it in.
What?
They were like in front of a green screen.
And put like office scenario behind them?
And they had like office, like pictures of the office or pictures of the warehouse.
It is so...
Pictures of a bar behind them.
Those are the easiest places in the world to go film. Okay.
I know.
Okay.
So it was very cheaply produced. And so of course there's the one where like the boss comes up to the woman who's speaking Spanish and they're like, you can't speak Spanish in the office, and people are like, the guy's like telling the woman like, I don't know, if you don't go on this date with me, I'm not sure that I'm gonna help you get that promotion. It's all these basic things.
Yeah. Which help. Seeing scenarios and seeing what an appropriate response is in that situation.
So
is helpful for people who...
It is. And again, these are very helpful. The one that bothered me though, and as we mentioned, New York State and New York City protect LGBTQ status and gender identity. So the bit that bothered me, and I'll just throw this out there, trigger warning, was two coworkers who are digging through social media and they find like Beth, Beth, and they're like, oh, check out this picture of Beth, and they're like, that's not Beth, and they're like, oh yeah, it is. And they're like, what? That says Stu, and it's like, yeah, Beth was Stu. What? That's crazy. No. That's, and it...
I had sex with Beth.
They didn't go that far, but it was like, it went on for friggin' ever.
So...
It was probably about a 3-minute video, but it went on seemingly forever, and they're like, oh my god, that's, and the other coworker comes over, like, oh my god, that's gross, and like, and it just, like, I'm in a room with like 50 coworkers.
Oh, this is like audience? I pictured you around a conference table.
No, this is like, this is a bunch of us. And I'm
Were
like...
people looking at you?
No, I just sort of tried to stink into my chair.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I just want this shit to be over.
I would have slid off of my chair and rolled out
I
of the
wanted
room.
to like leave. I wanted to leave the room, but I'm like, I can't draw any attention to myself. It's just gotta be cool. No one was looking at me that I noticed, but like, it was still like, as far as I know, I'm the only trans person in the office, but I'm like, it's very awkward, very uncomfortable. It made me incredibly uncomfortable. And I was reminded of the time we saw Trainspotting in the theater. And there was a trans because we don't really know the person's identity in Trainspotting. It's not important. The important thing for the story is how the man reacts to them.
Obviously.
So anyway,
straight.
I don't know if he's straight. That's sort of the thing of the character. But anyway, I have a whole blog about Trainspotting. But there
is a trans character.
There's a trans. I think we can assume. Let's assume she's a trans woman. And when that part came on in the movie, we were in the theater. We're in a dark theater, and I still have the same like, oh my god, everyone is going to be thinking about this. Everyone's going to be noticing me, and it made me very uncomfortable in the movie theater.
Because for what it is, and I feel like we discussed this before, is not that people, because we weren't like with a bunch of friends. It was just you and me in the theater.
Yeah,
but what it did was put the idea of transgender people in people's mind.
Yeah, and trans women as the butt of a joke.
Yes, or bad in some way, and then everyone's radar might be tuned up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and so
which you don't need.
which I don't need. And so that also made me very uncomfortable. But again, Trainspotting, one of my favorite movies.
Oh, you love it.
Love it. It's definitely in the top 5. That, Goodfellas, maybe Lady Bird is sneaking in there. I don't know. But there's definitely in my top 5. So we're in this training. The whole time I'm just incredibly uncomfortable. Mm. And so after that, the person who's leading it, the vendor, talks about trans stuff for like another 5 minutes, and I'm just
so they stop the video, put the lights on.
They're like,
in the room,
so who
and said, let's talk about transsexuals.
No, they didn't say transsexuals, but they said, let's talk about what was wrong in this, And so thankfully, no one spoke up at all in any of that thing. So they kept going like, so who saw what was wrong? What was wrong in this? Was anything wrong in this? And thankfully no one spoke. No one spoke at any of them. Yeah. We were not a very active audience.
This was not a good vendor. A good vendor would know how to get a back and forth.
I think so. And I think also, so yeah, I just waited for that to be over. Thankfully, they got on to something else, the topic of sexual harassment or immigrants. And I am neither the victim of sexual harassment nor an immigrant. And so those didn't bother me.
Right.
I can imagine, had I been in that situation, that might have bothered me.
Sure.
Just as much as the part with the trans person getting made fun of. Mm-hmm.
But you didn't look around the room at your immigrant or other female coworkers.
No, but the part about the trans thing was like, no other character came into it and was like, guys, that's wrong, So it was just, because they were presented as like things that were wrong.
Yes.
And we watched, a bunch of these, but it was just like, this one dug into me and just made me really awkward and uncomfortable. And I wish I had known about it. Mm-hmm. So after the training got out, we did lunch. I kept trying to talk to the head of HR, but she had like 3 more training sessions.
Sure.
So she was busy.
It was a big day.
So finally, at the end of the day, about 4:00, I went into her office and was like, I've got to talk to you about this.
Hey, so...
Because, and I said, for lack of a better term, this was very triggering. Mm-hmm. And this, I wish we had known about this beforehand. Mm-hmm. I wish there had been a way to, like, opt out of this or to opt into it, having it in a different format.
It would have been great to not see my personal nightmare.
And I never talked to this HR person explicitly about being transgender.
Oh, this isn't. I had come out. Was just your person.
It was a different HR person I came out to. We had a new person come in, and so I have never talked to her explicitly. She may have seen my file at some point, or she may have, in updating files, come across something with my dead name on it. But like, I had never explicitly talked to her about this. And so...
How did you open?
I just said, as a trans woman, I don't want to... I opened and said this made me very uncomfortable. And this made me feel triggered. And this made me feel really awkward and uncomfortable. I didn't like this at all.
Yeah.
And this really upset me. And even when I went out to lunch, I was really upset, after.
You were?
And I said, as a trans woman, like, the idea of watching a 3-minute video where characters just sit there and make fun of a trans woman for 3 minutes, like, I get that this is not intentionally upset. This is not intentional. You're not trying to upset anyone. You're not trying to make people awkward or uncomfortable, but like, you are.
You did.
And I said, same thing to her. I said, I'm not an immigrant I'm not a victim of sexual harassment, but I could imagine that those people being forced to watch that in a group of their peers, in a group of their coworkers. These aren't my friends. These aren't my family. These are my coworkers.
Yeah. And
the idea of watching, all this inappropriate stuff in a room with your coworkers discussing very sensitive topics. I said, that's just, I wish we had I said, I wish we had an option. I wish we knew about this. I wish we had an option. She apologized. She was very nice about it.
Nice.
She thanked me for bringing it up to her.
Awesome.
And she said that the next year they were going to, look into having, different formats and options for people.
Good.
And she said the reason they did it this way was they were kind of on a time crunch and they just sort of brought in a vendor to do it. And I know the head of my HR. You know, we've worked together on other things, and
including your coming out at work.
That was a different HR person.
Oh my gosh!
This
you
new
go through
HR.
so much HR.
No, it was only 2 HR people. But this new head of HR, her and I worked together on another project.
I get it. Okay.
That
I didn't know this was all heads. I thought it was just staffers.
No, this is the head. I work with department heads. I don't work with department heads. So yeah, so I did have a nice conversation with her. She was very nice about it, and she seemed very appreciative that I brought that to her attention.
Okay.
And she was apologetic, and I think she maybe even felt a little embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean
that it it had upset someone, and that wasn't its intent. Its intent was to prevent upsetting, awkward, embarrassing, uncomfortable situations, and there they went and created them. Ironically, yeah.
The idea is to get the embarrassment and awkwardness out in the training, so that in real life it's not a thing.
No, I don't think that was it at all.
Right. So it wasn't deliberately awkward.
No, it wasn't deliberately. It was a video. It wasn't like they were even trying to, So this was upsetting, and
she apologized and she felt bad, and she is going to do better next year.
I just have a story to tell.
But did that work? Did that make you feel better? Or it stings still.
It did. I wish I could have prevented other people from having to, I don't know, there's other people who are going to feel the same way.
Yeah.
If I felt that way, I'm probably not the only person.
Yeah.
Who maybe feels that way. It's New York City.
Mm-hmm.
What is the population in New York City? Like 40-50% immigrant?
Mm.
So there's a lot of immigrants. And so I can imagine them also feeling kind of that way.
Not great about that.
But they didn't. The thing about the trans woman is they specifically made fun of the trans woman. The rest of the videos were kind of ambiguous.
Oh.
And this one, they were definitely just mocking the trans woman.
That's so.
And the others, it was open, a little more open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So, and again, maybe that's just my feeling. Again, I'm not an immigrant, so maybe I would have watched the immigrant one and not felt that it was ambiguous.
Maybe it was just as bad. Yeah.
Yeah. But.
So, I guess my question for you is, what would you have liked your HR to do instead?
I would have liked my HR to have given us the option of doing this at our desk.
Okay.
Just
throw on your headphones and watch this video presentation.
Yeah, or
take
something
a quiz
like that.
After or something to make sure you paid attention, and then you've completed your sensitivity training for the year.
And we had done that in previous years.
Okay.
Or something similar, and that was a little less. I think, and I said this to her, I said, doing this in a room full of your coworkers, and these are very sensitive topics, and she sort of agreed. So hopefully that'll be something. Obviously, this is the cheapest, easiest way for them to do it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully next year they will realize that just because it's the cheapest and easiest way for the organization to do it does not actually yield the best result for employees.
Yeah.
So.
And let's say HR said there will be the presentation at 4 p.m. on Thursday, or you can watch it at your desk, and please be sure to complete that by 5 p.m. Wednesday, and the video presentation will include reenactments of situations depicting sexual harassment, immigration status harassment, and transgender or gender identity, or LGBT harassment.
Yeah.
Would that have done it? Would that have been okay?
That might have helped.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things she said, she was like, "Oh, the company put a big thing about transgender topics," and the person said, "Oh, it's because it's new."
Oh, that's why it had more emphasis.
That's what the vendor said.
Things.
Yeah, it had a lot more emphasis because it was new.
Crazy new group. Have you heard about them? What they are? Yeah,
they're a bunch of transgenders.
There's transgendered people. And
transgendered.
Now you have to be sensitive about that.
Yeah.
Ew.
So
okay, I think that is the best thing. If it can be an all video presentation, so much of our training, we had big sexual harassment training and things like that, all video at your desk. Read along, throw in your headphones, little review at the end. It was It was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Actually. And easier to accommodate with your schedule. My last question, this is only a little bit related, is I attended an active shooter training.
Oh, I had that recently too.
Yeah, which is different than the passive stabber training.
And they were like, yes. Yes.
Stab.
I came up with that joke like 7 years ago, and I've still yet to come up with something to put it in.
Well, now it's out there.
Now it's out there.
TM, we're passive stabbers. TM.
Yeah.
And y'all are passive stabbers too. Keep stabbing. And the video we watched, and some of our listeners, I'm sure, have seen this one because I think the FBI developed it, or it's used with the FBI, but it shows a workplace shooting.
Yeah.
And the whole point of workplace shooting and active shooter training is run, hide, fight. In that order. Get away from it.
Yeah.
If you can't, hide away from it. If you can't, actually fight them. The image, the video depicted a guy coming at the shooter with a fire extinguisher, which is actually a pretty good weapon.
I think I watched the same video.
Yeah. And so it's a white male dressed in all black walking in with a duffel bag. And I had a white male coworker being like, who dressed in all black? He's like, why did they have to show the guy dressed in all black? And I'm like, dude, I know how you choose to dress, but you do know how. Like, there's data for that. That's how the guy's going to dress.
That shooter's dressed in all black?
The shooter's dressed in all black.
That's so weird. I dressed in all black all the time.
Yeah,
and
but
I've never actively shot anyone.
This was like military tight t-shirt, cargo pants tucked into his boots.
I would actually like to see, I'm sure someone's done a webpage of like, what were active shooters wearing? It's a little morbid, but yeah.
I think they've got all that down. At any rate, the video starts with, the first time I saw it, I've seen it a couple times now. The first time I saw it, was at the Psychiatric Institute.
Oh gosh.
And the guy, the public safety officer presenting, said, now, some people have complained about this, and they didn't like this video, and they thought it was too much.
Yeah.
But this is used by the FBI, this is used by state agencies all over the country. It's supposed to have an impact on you. And there isn't, like, blood or anything, but there is violence in the thing. So I guess all I want to say is maybe this is the challenge. Maybe it's supposed to be a little bit disturbing. Now, it backfired in your case. I think you were the only one who was disturbed by it.
Let's break that down, though. Okay. Because, again, I think you can show anything in the right context and have it sort of
have it be educational. Yeah.
And so I think one of the things is our consequences shown.
Good. Yes.
That's a big one. 2, is it's getting into any sort of stereotypes. Playing into stereotypes. Because if it is playing into stereotypes, and like if I were a Muslim and they show a shooter specifically going like, I'm going to kill all the Muslims in here.
That would be very
and then there were no consequences, and it just sort of ends, and you're supposed to discuss, was that shooter racist?
Yeah.
I could see people getting very upset by that.
Yes.
And, or if it was like, I'm going to shoot all the women, and or whatever it was, and they just sort of ended it.
So showing consequences is
important. Showing consequences is important. I think there's a divide mentally. I think one of the issues with these videos that I saw was that they just sort of ended, and then you're supposed to sort of discuss. And
no one discussed.
And no one discussed. And also the fact that, like, a lot of times I've seen videos, like I think I saw the active shooter training that I saw, it might have been the same one, but they did the scene, and then the video was like, what was right in this scene, or what did Jeff do right? And they're like, Jeff did this, Jeff did this, Jeff did this. And so had there have been a second part of that video where they were like, what did Todd and Benjamin do wrong? They did, that might have been better.
But it still
than just ending it and having the guy be like...
Anyway, on to the next thing.
And having the guy be like, yep, you can't discriminate against transgender people because of Title VII of the New York State Civil Rights Act of 1991. And so, okay, moving on. Like, that's not as effective. And I think there is a divide when the movie ends and a guy starts talking... because our brains separate those two.
Yes.
Whereas if the movie said, this is wrong, I think we would have had that immediate, like, okay, boom, that's wrong. Whereas this one, it was like, making fun of a trans woman, stop.
Awkward guy
lecturing
in a
slightly.
short-sleeved dress shirt with a tie on, trying to get everyone to talk about it, and failing.
Yes.
On to the next triggering video for someone else in the room. Yeah, okay, so it sounds like, it sounds like exactly what your HR lady said, is we needed something fast, and we went with this vendor, and we won't do that again.
So don't go with Zeke's discount HR training. I know,
training.
We've all seen the commercials.
It's tempting to go with the lowest vendor, lowest bidder.
We'll come in and do HR training for only $19.95. Call now. Supplies are limited because I can only do one company a day. You have to be crazy to do HR training with these bargain basement prices.
Zeke, have you gone mad? $19.99. That's right.
I have gone mad. Mad for savings. We do HR training, EEO training, active shooter training,
sexual harassment training, and CPR training.
And more.
And scrolling on the screen.
Yeah.
All right, so they went with the bargain basement training, and this is what they got for it.
Yes.
Don't do that, listeners.
They got me upset.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. I hope your HR is better than this. I guess it's better than doing nothing. God, I don't know. That's a tough one.
I think the lesson here is speak up.
Yes.
Frame it in a constructive way, because oftentimes people. There's some people who are just assholes, and we've gone over this. And then there are people who make mistakes.
Oblivious.
And you have to, unfortunately, more often than not, err on the side of obliviousness.
Yeah, assume they just don't know.
Assume they just don't know. They're Scarlett Johansson saying stupid shit because she doesn't know.
Yeah.
Instead of, fucking Ben Shapiro or someone just saying stupid shit because they're an asshole.
Interesting comparison.
We'll get our 2 minutes of hate here.
What if Scarlett Johansson is actually an asshole?
She might be. I was erring on the side of Clueless for Scarlett Johansson because she said some really stupid shit.
There'll be links.
But
to
I
some
know
of her
Ben
best.
Shapiro is an asshole.
He actually is a professional asshole.
Professional asshole.
Well-paid asshole.
But anywho, so the point is, when it comes to that at work, unfortunately, unless someone is definitely doing this to antagonize, err on the side of oblivious and try to be helpful and constructive. And I think hopefully that HR person at my work, that HR professional, will know better or think twice about this next year. How are my employees gonna think about this?
And HR is supposed to be responsive to this, so the response you got should be typical. I want to believe there aren't shitty HR people out there that are like,
shitty HR people.
Thanks, duly noted, bye. But you might run into that.
Let me put a little complainy sticker on your folder.
Frowny face. Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, speak up. They don't have the experience you have. They don't have the point of view you have. And it's easier to be polite if you go in there with the assumption that they just didn't know.
Yeah.
As opposed to they were trying to be antagonistic. And you have a voice. You work there. You get to say this. You get to claim your own comfort. You get to be comfortable in your workplace. You get to. You got work to do. You just need to do your job.
And they want you comfortable so you can do your damn job.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Unless they don't, in which case they're assholes. In which case, look into getting a new job if that's an option.
That is a whole
other topic for another day.
Indeed. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for your terrible story.
Yeah. I feel better now. I'm just...
Maybe we'll have better stories next time.
Yeah, we'll do some other fun episodes. We actually have been discussing some ideas.
Yeah.
I know y'all are going through some gender rebels withdrawal, but, we'll keep them coming. Don't worry.
Yeah. Don't you worry about us. We are still thinking about you. We are still reading your emails and gradually responding to them and still compiling lists of your questions. So We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Talk to you later.
All right, everyone.
Bye!
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep making more great content, go to patreon.com/genderrebels.
Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes.
And send your questions to questions@genderrebels.com or find us on Twitter @thegenderrebels.
Music for The Gender Rebels is by Jasper the Colossal. Follow the link down below or download them on iTunes today.
And for all our episodes, visit genderrebels.com.
Gender Rebels is a Comeback Sync production, copyright 2019. All rights reserved.
And to all you gender rebels out there, keep rebelling.
Bye.
That Goodfellas, maybe Lady Bird is sneaking in there. I don't know. But there's definitely in my top 5.
Faith has an amazing Scottish accent because she's watched Trainspotting so many times.
And because I grew up in the 90s watching Shirley Manson interviews. So, a little bit both. Yeah. The 90s were very strong on Scottish stuff for me.
Do you want to bust out that Scottish accent?
No, I don't.
Now?
Not right
okay,
now.
Then I'll cut this out. Unless you do.
So,
I'll just cut this out.
Throw another shrimp on the barbie.
That's not, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. You've no idea how to do Scottish accent, do you?
No, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so the point is, that can be your outtake. So the point is,
that's gonna be the outtake at the end of this episode. That's the 2 accents I can do.
So, we're in this training. The whole time I'm just incredibly uncomfortable. Mm. And so after that, the person who's leading it, the vendor, talks about trans stuff for another 5 minutes.